The Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura, California, presents a homily by Outreach Coordinator at the Church of the Larger Fellowship, Tanner Linden, titled It's a Zoo Out There, recorded on Sunday morning, May 24th, 2020.
Good morning and welcome to worship with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura. I am Worship Associate Sue Brinkmeyer. Our minister, the Reverend Dana Worsnop, is out of the pulpit today, and I am joined in facilitating this service by Worship Associate Jim Merrill. Our guest speaker today is Tanner Linden, who grew up in this church and has gone on to become the outreach coordinator for the Church of the Larger Fellowship, the largest UU congregation in the world. They give him Sunday mornings off so that he can guest preach. How wonderful it is that he has accepted our invitation to be with us today. We're no longer reading announcements at the beginning of service, but if you come a little early, you'll see them scrolling on your screen, and you can enjoy listening to Carolyn's prelude as you read them. I remind you to mute your microphones and to keep them muted unless you're in a breakout room. And it would also be lovely if you go under the participants list and be sure you have renamed yourself so that we can see your name on the screen. Our technical crew will be shown on this next slide. Taking key roles today are Brian Fortune, our director, Kitty Merrill, assistant director, and Kent Brinkmeyer, our magician. Joe Osborne is available for technical support today by phone or by chat, and he'll put his phone number in the chat now. It is so good to be together once more. Let us enter sacred space.
I'm Worship Associate Jim Merrill. We're hoping that everyone here has a chalice or a candle to light and something to light it with. Let's light our chalices all together.
And each week, we in this congregation take time to pay attention to something in the world that could use some change and to take action toward that change through our offering. All money that is donated goes to an organization in the larger community or to a fund to help someone in our own congregation. We invite you each week to donate online or to send a check for the cause to the church. You'll see the address for that on the very next slide. Our offering today goes to our own Lift Up Your Voice team to support their efforts to end homelessness one person and one family at a time. Through their latest collaborative effort called Moving In, a number of congregations are asking their members to donate new or gently used furniture and household goods. Volunteers pick up the donated items, put them in storage until needed, and then deliver them to people who are at long last moving out of homelessness and into their very own apartment. Sometimes people cannot move in simply because they lack something federal rules say they must have. This happened recently to a veteran who couldn't move in until our volunteers showed up with the refrigerator he needed. There have been so many happy stories with this new program. A single woman who had been homeless for 5 years and was blind had no furniture at all on the day she was to move in. She and her kids cried tears of joy when our volunteers showed up with truckloads of furniture, appliances, sheets, towels, even a bathroom shower curtain. And just this past Friday, our team furnished a home for Irene together with our Kathy Powell. Many of you know both of them from church. This program is changing lives by making long-awaited but empty apartments into comfortable homes for our formerly homeless, say that again, formerly homeless neighbors and friends, one household at a time. I hope you'll give generously, as you always do. We are ever and always grateful for the generosity of this congregation. Your giving spirit is a bright thread that runs throughout the tapestry of love we weave together. I invite you now into a time of silent meditation. Take some moments to settle into your spiritual center. Breathe in, breathe out. A silent meditation.
It is so wonderful to be together. Let's just take a moment and savor this, that over 100 people from 80 households all over the place are virtually in one place together. It makes my heart warm. I can't stop smiling just thinking of everyone. Now, I know I can't hear you, but let's all together say, it is wonderful to be together, all right? It is wonderful to be together. I'm just gonna believe that you said it, even if you didn't, and that's okay. As you've heard, my name is Tanner. I don't need to tell most of you that. Many people here helped raise me and watched me grow up and have seen the person that I've become today. So before I talk about what I came here to talk about, I have to perform the obligatory life update, since according to my father, people want to know what's going on with you. If you know him, that's exactly how he would say it. So, okay, Dad, I'll tell everyone what I'm up to. So currently, as you heard from Sue, I serve as the outreach coordinator for the Church of the Larger Fellowship. If you've never heard of the Church of the Larger Fellowship, we are well known for our prison ministry network, our military ministry program, and our international outreach. Even before the pandemic, we were a fully online, virtual, digital congregation. We have over 3,000 members all over the world. So in short, it's a really, really fun and rewarding job. In addition to my faith work, I'm going to school at Southern New Hampshire University, studying communications, and I do some consulting work and guest preaching at congregations on the side. So now that I've done my obligatory life update, I've been thinking a lot about Reverend Dana's past sermons and how I can contribute to her series. And I decided that I'm going to talk about the job I had before I started at the Church of the Larger Fellowship. For almost 5 years, I worked at the Santa Barbara Zoo. Many Ventura County locals have had the pleasure of visiting the zoo or know about the Santa Barbara Zoo. It's small, compact, it's a community zoo. But it's known and world-renowned for being one of the most beautiful zoos. There's flowers and trees everywhere. It's gorgeous. It feels like home. It feels like home to so many people. Even though I never worked directly with animals, I'd like to share a little of what I learned from our animal care professionals in the 5 years that I worked there. So zoos and aquariums do this thing called behavioral enrichment. Behavioral enrichment means creating experiences and activities for the animals that stimulate their brain and mimic experiences that they would be having out in the wild. So if they weren't in human care. Behavioral enrichment is a part of daily care for the animals. They receive enrichment just like they receive food and water and medicine. Enrichment is an important part of keeping an animal healthy and happy. Sometimes enrichment is items they put into an exhibit, like a box filled with scented paper, or a ball pit for the animals to play in, or a puzzle with treats inside. Zookeepers have to be creative every single day with the enrichment they provide animals. Not only do they have to be creative with the enrichment they provide animals, but they also have to be adaptive. Animals, in some cases, are like people. They have specific preferences. Bam Bam the porcupine doesn't like cabbage, and Michael the giraffe hates pears. Keepers have to adapt the enrichment to a specific animal. Some animals don't like certain scents or don't like touching certain things. Some animals like their food chopped up really small, and some animals like their food really, really big, and the keeper just has to learn what the animal wants and needs. Now, I'm a more visual learner, so for example, this is Anara. She's an anteater, and she usually likes to take a cooling dip in her pool each afternoon for about a minute or so. Today, her keeper filled her pool with bubbles. Don't worry, they're Johnson's no tears baby bubble bath, so she's fine. And while the bath is certainly relaxing for Anara here, it provides enrichment in the form of textures and smells. Anara loved the bubble bath so much that she stayed for 10 whole minutes. Now, this is Parker. He usually eats his food right off the ground. But today, his keeper taped his food up into a cardboard box. Now, Parker is a California condor, and they're one of the few animals that get released back into the wild after they've recuperated and we've been able to give them health assessments, things like that. So this keeper is preparing Parker for the wild by making sure he can search and get his food on his own once he's ready. And this is Jasper. Jasper and I are matching today. He is an Amur leopard. He lives a fairly stress-free life at the zoo. He's never hungry, never thirsty, and always has a safe place to sleep. His keeper got a shedded snake skin from one of the reptile keepers and placed it in Jasper's exhibit today. Early in the morning when Jasper came out, his fear response kicked in when he saw the snake skin. He didn't know it was a shed. He thought it was a real live snake. He was scared, but he pounced on it and played with it for a while. And even though that was a natural feeling, we don't ever want our animals to feel overly anxious or stressed. That's a normal feeling that Jasper would feel in the wild. We don't want to deprive him of that entirely. So we provided that behavioral enrichment to give him that fear response, that kick. Now, sometimes enrichment is not what we put in the exhibit itself, but it's how the animal interacts with its exhibit as a whole. Zookeepers will often practice something called exhibit enhancing. This is when the zookeeper rearranges, removes, or adds object to the exhibit. This can take hours each day. For example, elephant keepers will start exhibit enhancing at 8 a.m. and spend upwards of 2 hours with shovels, rakes, and bulldozers rearranging the entire exhibit so that when the elephants come out in the morning, they're stimulated by something new. It doesn't feel like the same old thing. And this is not only a practice for larger animals like elephants, gorillas, leopards, even zookeepers for little creatures like lizards and snakes and hamsters and all those little things will dedicate time to rearranging their exhibit, moving a water dish from one side of the exhibit to the other, changing where food gets placed, or adding or removing sand and rocks. Even the smallest changes force the animal to interact with their space differently. Now, this is the part where you're asking yourself, what does behavioral enrichment, exhibit enhancing, and all this zoo stuff have to do with me? You might be sitting there saying, thanks for the zoo update, Tanner, but what does it have to do with me? I don't live at the zoo. Well, if you're anything like I am, you might be starting to feel a little cooped up at home. You may even be feeling a little enclosed. I'd like to encourage you to use creativity and adaptability, just like the zookeepers, to add a little more enrichment to your life. Maybe this is the perfect opportunity for you to enhance your space. And I know what you're thinking. No, you don't need shovels, rakes, or bulldozers. You don't need a ball pit or a puzzle that dispenses treats. Although, who wouldn't love a ball pit? You don't need bubbles or boxes or shedded snake skins. All you need is to find new experiences and activities that you can enjoy from the safety of your home. Have you tried painting? What about picking up that instrument that's collecting dust in your closet? What can you bring into your life that will enrich you? Just like Anara's bath, every day she soaks for just a few minutes. But the one day the zookeeper broke her routine and tried something new, she stayed in the water 5 times as long. What are your proverbial bubbles that you can add to your routine? Or what about Parker? He needs to get himself ready to be released into the wild. He's getting better and better at tearing apart his cardboard box and finding his food every single day. What new challenge can you face? What can you get better at while you're waiting to be released into the wild? And Jasper, who lives in a safe, secluded space, but his zookeeper still knows the power that fear has in his life. His zookeeper knows that fear is a totally natural feeling. And no matter how safe Jasper might be and how he social distances himself from all the other cats, that it's okay for him to be anxious every once in a while. And he has the opportunity to confront his fear and bounce on it. So, what's making you anxious right now? And how can you be like Jasper and attack that anxiety head on? We can look to our animal friends for guidance during these times. Maybe you can shake up your routine like Anara. Maybe we can build new skills like Parker. And maybe we can face our fears head on like Jasper. I think we could all use some behavioral enrichment and exhibit enhancing right now. Maybe you don't need to spend hours redecorating your entire house, but have you tried eating dinner in a different place than you normally do? Have you tried relaxing in a different chair or reading a book somewhere new? If even a lizard or snake needs a change of scenery sometimes, I think we do too. Here at the Linden Act 7 house, we've been eating dinner outside almost every night. We got this beautiful wooden table and some gorgeous string lights and a cute little fireplace, and really made the outside area feel more homey. And this is not a practice we ever did before. Of course, it doesn't make up for being stuck at home, but it feels a little less enclosed. It feels like a break from the same old routine and forces us to interact with our space differently. Our outside area is our bubbles to Anara. What are your bubbles that you can add to your routine? What's something different that you can do? Something new that will push you to do something that maybe feels a little awkward, a little weird, but maybe that feeling is good right now. All of that being said, I invite you to step into the shoes of a zookeeper, to think about the space and supplies that you have, and try something new. Give yourself the opportunity to be creative and adaptive and stimulate your brain. Be like Anara, break your routine. Be like Parker, build a new skill. Be like Jasper, jump on your fears. I invite you to stimulate your brain, really, and mimic some of the experiences that you might be having outside of quarantine. If it helps an animal at the zoo, maybe, just maybe, it will be helpful for you too.
Please join me in extinguishing your chalice at home. We extinguish the chalice, but not the light in our hearts, the warmth of community, or the wisdom and inspiration we gain here. Those we carry into our lives until we gather again.
Well, I've been reading in the chat the many words saying what I was feeling, how grateful we all are that Tanner joined us today. Wonderful message, Tanner. Thank you. Go forth in love. Go forth in peace. Go forth in good health. May it be so.
We hope you've enjoyed listening to It's a Zoo Out There, presented by Outreach Coordinator at the Church of the Larger Fellowship, Tanner Linden, recorded on May 24th, 2020, for the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura, California.